And we are live. Welcome to this week's edition of the MMA UK Late Show. This is a Celtic Gladiators special. And before I introduce the guests, do you want to talk us through the sponsor, Peter?
Yes, MMA UK Late Show is sponsored by Fight Fuel. Fight Fuel is a supplement and clothing company founded by martial artists for martial artists and all combat sport athletes. The aim of the company is to supply supplements and clothing of the highest standard to all fighters and warriors so they can train, perform and win.
I had some of the Fight Fuel recovery drink today, so I'll let you know next week if I can. That was just from doing the gardening. That's how bad my levels of fitness have got. I needed a recovery drink after that. So, welcome to the show, everyone. As I said, it's a Celtic Gladiators special. We were going to have two fighters from the show on, but one of them's over in Fight Island and coming home today. So, we've got one, but he's a special one. Vadimas, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, Vadimas is a Team Stronger and GB Top Team fighter, and the show is on August the 22nd. I'll be coming to you in a minute to talk to you about that fight, but I'm buzzing for the local shows to be back going again. So just awesome news that Celtic Gladiators back. And we're also joined by Lewis. Lewis, thanks for joining us tonight.
No problem, Katie. My pleasure.
And we're going to talk about the card. I hear that you and I agree on the scoring of the main event, which wasn't the way it went. So
I think we do. I think there's quite a lot of talking points about it actually. So look forward to getting it there after.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a bit. And obviously, I'm joined by my co-host Peter Knox. Nice to see you, Peter.
Yeah, I'm in shock that Lewis has got a haircut. When you get that done, Lewis?
I know, very smart.
I had it done last Monday. I was going to go, as I was saying to you guys last Sunday, I was going to put it in a man bun, but I had so much abuse from like friends and family that in the end I caved and went to go the majority of it cut off, and feeling a lot better for it, to be honest. No, I've got no excuse now. My grandfather was running around the house calling me Lego head. Obviously, every time I was doing one of these interviews, I had people, commenting, look at the state of it, and it had to come off. So the COVID cut has come, and here we are, onwards and upwards.
Well, I felt dreadful last night. I kept thinking how awful Tom Aspinall's hair looked. Sorry, Tom. I didn't realise that he's been growing it, and he's growing it until 2021 because one of his mates' kids is very ill, and he's and they've had terrible trouble getting a wig. So he's growing it out until next year to help with that. So good on him. Props to him for doing that. Just fantastic. And we'll come on to other fantastic news from him in a bit. But let's go back to you, Vad, because obviously it is a Celtic Gladiator special. How exciting that we've got a show coming up in August.
For sure. I was worried for a while because I didn't know like at what point I'm going to be able to get a fight in, or if I'm going to be able to get a fight in at all. So it was nice to see that message from Brad when he's like, Vad, you got to fight August, start getting yourself ready. It's always a nice thing to see that on my notification in the morning.
Yeah. And I don't think they're 100% set on a venue yet, are they?
Yeah, I didn't even know where it was. I had to message Muhyiddin because he's fighting on the same card. I was like, do you know where this is? And he told me it's in Manchester. So I was like, okay, now we'll have to travel.
I think that's all we know so far. As far as I'm aware, until they know if they can have anyone in or not, they're not 100% secured on a venue. But yeah, it's going to be in Manchester, and
we can do it in a warehouse. We can find a warehouse to do it in. It's fine.
I'm sure you're ready to fight in people's like back gardens or anything at this stage.
Sure, yeah, 100%. It's someone's house. I mean, if they have the money to get us in, then sure, let's do it.
And you're fighting Mo Safi, I think. So what do you know about your opponent?
So I know he's a Manchester top team fighter. I know he's fighting out of, so it's sort of a, GB top team, Manchester top team, bit of a rivalry going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I heard he's a good wrestler as well. So I watched his fights. Obviously, I see that he's, he likes to get it to the ground if he can, wrestling. He likes to throw some strikes, hooks and things. I think it's going to be quite a scrappy fight. We're both young, so I think it's going to be one of those, prospects, young amateurs coming up versus young amateurs coming up. See which top team has the younger, hungrier fighters.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm watching you grow up because the first time I saw you fight, well, I saw you fight on your debut. You were 16 on the Rock card, winning by armbar. I've been to 3 of your 4 amateur fights, so it's going to be very sad for me not to be at this one. But yeah, it's just, what has this COVID thing set you back? When I know that you were hungry to compete in jiu-jitsu as well, you just wanted to stay active. Where does this leave you for the rest of the year?
Yeah, because I was like to everyone, guys, as soon as I finish sixth form, I'm gonna go on a gap year. I'm just gonna train, go Thailand, go everywhere, travel, and just fight as much as I can. And obviously with this Corona thing and this pandemic, the fights have been limited. I mean, I was worried I wasn't even gonna fight once this year, so it's a bit of a relief that I'm able to. But like you said, I wanted to get into a lot of fights. Hopefully, maybe even a BJJ competition, Grapple Fest, and while I'm not able to compete as much, it has let me kind of get the mental side of it now and just kind of sit back and kind of get that, read some books, just kind of chill out a little bit. Because when you're doing fight camp and, while he's training for a fight, you're not kind of thinking as much as you don't have that much time. You're just going training, running, doing whatever you can. So it's nice to slow down in a way. I'm just trying to make the best of whatever I can.
That's such a mature response from someone as young as you.
Thank you.
And a load of your teammates as well are on the card out in Spain, the Vida card or the World Tour. I'm not sure what banner it's under, but I'm hoping they're still going to be able to fight out there because obviously we've got the quarantine back now for people coming back from Spain. So hopefully they're all okay to go there.
I'm worried about that now because if I'm fighting a week after that, I don't know what's going to happen, if Brad's even going to be able to come back, if they're able to come back. So I'm just going to see what happens at this point because I have no idea. Is anyone going to even be able to return for that fight? I mean, we're just going to have to see, I guess. For real.
Who are you going to have in your corner if everyone's stuck out in Spain?
His girlfriend.
I'm sure...
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. I'm not as confident as Mike Perry is. I'm not, but we can sort something out. Katie, we can get you to come over maybe. You guys, if you guys are doing anything on August the 22nd, love to have you guys along.
I'll drop everything to be there. I'll have Brad on FaceTime.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's an amazing card, though. Not all of the fights that I've seen, I think, are announced yet, so I don't want to put my foot in it. But as you said, Mahudin's on the card. He's obviously a big name on the amateur circuit. Really looking forward to having him on that card. And then also your teammate Wesley Meyer is fighting Scott Malone. What a huge fight to be on this card! How exciting!
That's a banger of a fight, and I know how hard Wesley trains. I mean, any Wesley fight is a good fight. You just go and you see him and his intensity, and he just brings it. You know it's going to be entertaining, flying knees. His last fight, and just crazy striking, great. And he's been working on his grappling as well because I watched a couple of Malone's fights as well. He's good on the ground, so we're all just trying to help each other. We see what everyone's good at. And we're just trying to help each other. So don't sleep on Wesley's submission game. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm absolutely buzzing for that fight because they're both people that I really look forward to watching, and to hear them announce to fight each other, I just think it's going to be a really exciting one. And it's a good one for the fans. So that will be a pay-per-view event, Peter, won't it? We're just waiting on the details for that.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the comments and all that once we have that. So actually, Carol's the best matchmaker in UK for me. Every single card he puts on, every single fight, it's a banger. There's no bad fights, no bad matchmaking like the UFC, as you would say, Katie.
We'll come on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but shout out to Cole because that
Yeah.
card looks amazing, and there's a few more fights in the pipeline that I think are going to really excite everyone. So, 22nd of August, we'll get the details out. Vad's going to be on the card. Honestly, he's really exciting to watch. So, I just can't wait for these shows to be back. But let's move on to hi, who's that? Chadwell Clay fan. Hi. Yeah, let's move on to last night's UFC because it was a good one. I feel quite exhausted by Fight Island. How do you feel, Lewis?
To be honest, I've loved it. There's been, I know like a lot of Americans was complaining that there wasn't the big cards on the island that they'd expected, but I think for particularly European people, the matches that have been on there, you know, so many Cage Warriors alumni, former Bama fighters, just guys that we all know and love watching on the regional scene stepping up. I think it's been absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, it's kind of a little bit disappointing now they go back to America, but you know, we still get to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning and watch them either way. So, yeah, the show rolls on. But no, I've loved Fight Island. I thought there'd been some brilliant fights. And most importantly, I think the British guys have really gone out there and represented themselves really well.
Yeah. I was adding it up earlier. 18 fighters from the UK we've had on those cards since 251. When I say it's been exhausting, I mean like emotionally draining because
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
I've been invested in every single one of them, like just wanting them to do well and just willing them on. And I think, Lewis, where we've spoken to them so much over however many years it is now, you care about them so much, don't you? And you know how much they've put into it, all of them. And if it doesn't go their way, it's just heartbreaking.
And why it's great as well, even more so when you say it like that, is usually we'll interview them and then they have to fight someone we know from the regional scene as well. So it's always like that little bit of like you're torn between, I really like this guy, but I know this guy a little bit better. So you kind of try and stay neutral, but it is tough. But with this, you get to support every UK fighter because they're going out and fighting guys from Russia, the US. So it's absolutely brilliant. And the emotional roller coaster, it has been real. So in that way, you are 100% right, Katie. But it's great, isn't it? It's brilliant. That's why we love watching it, and so we love coming on and talking about it afterwards as well.
100%. The highs are so much higher, and the lows are really, really heartbreaking when you're invested. And talking about being invested, Vad, your teammate, the prospect Nathaniel Wood, he couldn't have done any better last night, could he?
Well, I mean, hey, he could have. Obviously, we're always gonna be a bit, you know, like, come on, Nathaniel, we want to see a knockout first round. Come on, you know. But no, it was a great performance by him. You know, we're all super proud to see him. I was watching it with Nick Bagley and Matt Back, the photographer at GB Celtic. So we were all watching it and we were like, you know, cheering him on, but also our hearts were beating, and because he's representing all of us, you know, he's fighting, we're fighting, so it was nervous, but he did well for sure.
It was one of the first times that he hasn't taken 10 years off my life. Like normally his style is so like that's standing and banging that I literally feel like I get older every time I watch him. So last night it felt like a really mature performance because he wasn't kind of forcing the finish and he just looked in control the whole time. And I thought it was one of the best I've seen him look, especially as it is against UFC caliber competition.
I think for sure you're right. I think he matured after that Dodson fight because, again, you know, he was doing well and then he got caught, and it's just that kind of that switch where he knows, like, okay, I need to be careful in these certain positions. So I mean, for me, it was very it was a very intelligent performance. He just sticked and moved, good head movement, and it was just an outclass. Like, he outclassed his opponent in that way. And I think that's going to open up some more fights now for him. So it showed that, you know, he's back.
I think you're right. There's levels to every fight that we see and every fighter, and he did just look levels above his competition last night. What did you think of that one, Lewis?
Well, yeah, I agree with what Vad said, really. But I thought what was the best thing to see was that obviously he lost to Dodson. He looked good in the Dodson fight before he got clipped. But he picked straight back up from where he left off before getting hit. And I think really with UFC, I find if you lose and you get knocked out, it is hard to come back the next fight and get a win.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that he went in, performed so maturely, like I say, he didn't rush the finish. He just, he kind of put getting the win first. I think that was very sort of pleasing to see. And like I said, he couldn't have done much better than get a finish. So it's good to be back in the win column. And I think next fight now, he'll probably push back at someone in the top 15. And like I said, you never know. If he would have won that Dodson fight, you don't know who he would have been fighting on Yaz Island. Do you know what I mean? It would have likely been a big name. So I think he lost that, which was disappointing. But I think he learned a lot. And you saw that last night, really.
Yeah. Sometimes you need the setback to grow, I guess. Peter, did you enjoy that fight? It obviously opened the card last night.
Yeah, I was a bit drunk watching that one, but I didn't watch them all actually. But no, after I lost, that's all you can do is win the fight. And I never thought it was in doubt the whole fight. You never looked comfortable and all that. It just seemed like a comfortable fight. Just don't get caught. It's UFC, anything could happen. But yeah, a minute. So no, I was desperate for Nathaniel to win because I'm excited to see what happens next. What UFC matchmakers have got for him. As I say, I'm wanting Would Be Sure at some point. So as long as they keep winning, then there's more chance of that fight happening at some point in the future.
Yeah, I don't want that fight for a while. But how do you feel about him? He's obviously going to face Jack Shaw at some point. If they both keep on the trajectory that they're on, they're going to face each other at some point. But I would
Brett
rather
Johns.
that wasn't for a while. What do you think, Dad?
Or Brett.
Could be, I think it could be Brett. I think that's the matchup to make because they both starting at the same time, and they've had that parallel. So I think Brett's more the fight to make personally, but either one would be great.
Well, they were meant to have that grappling match, him and Brett. They were
exactly
at that Polaris, so I mean it could be interesting. Either one, to be honest, I'd say that I'd see where he's coming with Brett because Brett's kind of Jack Shaw's being I think pushed a little bit now because he's always got that win streak, whereas Brett's kind of been up and down in a way.
Yeah.
So it might be a good match for Nathaniel to kind of just see who's gonna. But I want Nathaniel to I want him to fight. I think as the UFC, I think they should promote that fight later. I really want them to have their own separate shoots and then just do a massive UK battle of the Brits. Just make a massive event out of it. That's what I think should happen. And then let Nathaniel beat Umar Nurmagomedov. Let him beat them. Let him beat the other guys, and then make a big fight in the UK, London. UK Fight Night London deserves a big card.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it used to be that those UK cards were fairly weak. Like Brad was usually popping those cards up. Peter, you've got a lot of noise going on there.
Have I?
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be those cards were quite weak with Brad and Jimmy, kind of the two names that everybody was looking and hoping that they weren't going to be injured. So we got them on the card at least. Whereas now I feel like we've got such a plethora of talent to be on the card there.
The next UK card after COVID is going to be absolutely massive. Whoever's on there is going to be an absolutely massive card. If they only match a couple of British people against each other in a big main event, it could be huge, and I'm already excited, and it's not even like announced. So yeah, that next one is going to be big, regardless of who they pick, I think.
Glenn saying Nathaniel's not beating the Welsh boys. Never mind.
Agree to disagree, my friend. Agree to disagree.
Glenn's from Wales. If you couldn't work that out, bud.
I can understand. And hey, I'm from a whole different part of the world. I'm from Russia, but I still think I'm going to root for my London boys this time.
And talking about that next card that we'll probably get in London, it's usually in March time. That might be the time that Darren Till's making his comeback, because it sounds like after last night he's got quite bad damage to his knee. So it could be that that's his first fight back. So he could be headlining and we could be getting a very, very exciting undercard. But
Yeah.
let's talk about that fight last night. Lewis, I'm going to come to you first because I know you agree with me.
Yeah, it was an exciting fight, wasn't it?
Striking masterclass. It was. Oh, I did really enjoy it, even though I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. And do you know what? I'm surprised. Surprisingly, like you talk about kind of big cards, like you usually think the ones that everyone watch would be like the McGregors, Masvidals, but a lot of people I know who don't usually watch UFC watch this card as well. So I think that says a lot about, first of all, Yaz Island, but also the kind of drawing power of Darren Till. That
Yeah.
a lot of people, like people I know who don't usually watch UFC, was watching this or getting up this morning and watching it. So it was definitely a big event, definitely a big main event, and I really think it lived up to expectations. Really good striking battle, really technical. You was just any moment expecting someone could get knocked out, something big could happen, and that's what was so exciting about it. I mean, in terms of the decision, granted, I wanted Darren Till to win, but I did feel at the end he might get it on points decision. I personally gave him round 1 with a knockdown.
Yeah.
Round 4, I thought he just landed the heavier shots.
Yeah.
And sort of move forward a little bit more, which I thought might sway the judges to him in round 4. And then obviously he opened up the big cut in round 5. So I felt like it was close, and I was not disappointed that Whittaker got the win because he fought really well. But at the same time, I did at the end think Darren might sneak this one. So
yeah,
it was a good fight. But yeah, fair play to Whittaker. He fought well, and he deserved his win as well on the night, to be fair.
I agree with your rationale. That's the same reasons that I gave him those rounds. And they were really close. There were 3 rounds that were very close, and if you scored them the other way, that's why I'm not saying it's a robbery by any means. I can see how it was scored the other way, but it really does pee me off when people say about the takedowns in the 5th round, where Darren Till got straight back up and nothing was landed, and he cut him open. So that's the argument that I find really annoying about the 5th round. If you've got other reasons, if you think that Whittaker's shots were more impactful, or he caused more damage in those rounds, fair play. But it's just very annoying to me that people still bang on. And I have to credit John Gooden, because he's continually, talking about the judging criteria correctly. So I think he's been a breath of fresh air on Yas Island. But how did you score it, Bad? And did you enjoy the fight?
Yeah, I have to admit that I'm a bit ashamed that I actually couldn't stay up for it. I was I was so up for it. I was like, yes, I'm gonna do it. I'm looking to the right and I see Nick unconscious. I see Matt behind me just gone, and I'm like, yes, I can do it. But then I saw the Gustafsson fight and I just fell asleep, But after obviously watching it in the morning, yeah, it was a good fight, and I want to score it for Till. I was looking for ways for Till to win, and I think you can give it to Till. But for me, it was just that I think Whittaker was landing the more impactful shots. It was that, yes, Till was landing in terms with that beautiful elbow he caught Whittaker, and that was amazing. But I noticed that a lot of the shots he was doing, the little feint, and then hit, it always seemed to kind of hit into his guard. And it kind of somehow it wouldn't be as clean as. Sure, Rob missed a lot more, but when he did land, it was always when, Darren was pulling back and he would catch him. And I felt like those shots, although perhaps he missed more when he did land, I felt that it would cause more damage than when Whittaker was landing on the guard.
So did you score it 3-2 to Whittaker?
To be fair, when I watched it in the morning, I didn't exactly do the scoring criteria. I should have. So I kind of just watched the fight. But yeah, I think it's the debate is towards the end, because that's when the round started to get a little bit iffy. I think the first round, Rob took, I think it was, and then no, it was the other way. First round Till, second round Rob, 100%, and then the third round they started to kind of, wild closer. Punches landing, and then Till would land with his, accuracy. It was up in the air for me. Yeah.
Do you think that the knee injury that Till sustained in the second round had an impact on? Do you think the result would be any different if that hadn't happened?
I think those kicks to the calf that I saw, that lead kick to the calf that Rob was throwing, was really, I think it did help. I think that whether that made the knee worse in any way or at what point, I don't know, but I felt like that accumulated in the fight, and I felt like perhaps that, Darren Till was feeling it, because at some point he literally just went limp from the kick. He just kind of relaxed and just he let the kick take him, and I think that it kind of it scored for Whittaker in terms of the eyes of the judges. They saw those kicks in him.
Yeah, I think he did a good job of having a poker face and not showing the pain. But yeah, you're right, that he definitely was, that's an indication to the judges that they were having an impact. How did you score it then, Peter? Because I know you didn't agree with me and Lewis.
No, I just went with the judges. I thought they got it spot on.
Well, they didn't all score the same rounds for the same people. So which judge did you agree with?
Our one, what's his name again? I mentioned him earlier on. I can't remember his name already. Cartilage, so Ben Cartilage. So way he scored it. As you say, I just started watching the fight, watching it, and then obviously Till dominated that first time. And then after that, Robert Whittaker controlled the fight. He mixes it up a lot more. He's better all round as well. He was doing the calf kicks. He was going for takedowns, faking the takedowns to throw an overhand and stuff like that. Just much better all round. And as I say, I just thought he took over the fight from there. Till, I don't know. I think he's a bit one-dimensional. He just kind of comes at you, doesn't he? Just as you say, people joke about his left hand and all that, but I don't know. It's nothing different for Darren. He's got a good takedown defense and all that, but he does just come at you and just throws the same things all the time. I think
he needs to work on his ground game. When he was on his back, he didn't look like he had like much there for me, but I don't know whether that one-dimensionness that you said about, I think a lot of that was caused by the knee and not having the same movement that he would normally have. But I saw Danny put up a question there about who we think's next for Till. Peter, who would you suggest as the next opponent for Till? I've got a feeling it won't be for a long time, because I think his knee's going to take a long time to heal.
How bad is his knee? I know he injured it, but I don't know if he's going to get an operation. But
he said he thinks that he will need an operation.
Okay, well, Glenn said there Romero or something. So anybody, I think Till said if he wins a couple, then he'll get a title shot and all that. So I know the champions want to Till, but so take on anybody. But I think he needs to get better, get well, get this operation out about, and evolve his game a bit more as well. I think so. How many takedowns did Darren attempt? None. No, stuff like that. Mix it up a bit. Even fake the takedown. Do something. Just change it up a bit and evolve. Get better. So.
He was definitely doing that in the first round a little bit more. He seemed to be moving a lot, more purpose. He was feinting a lot more. But I think once he took started taking them kicks to the legs, that slowed him down. Then he says he had the injury to the leg, and it's bound to be a factor, isn't it?
Did he attempt to check the kicks? He didn't, did he? He just stood there and took them.
The thing is that, like you said, though, Peter, Whittaker does mix it up so well. You don't know what's coming, so you can't really block. You can't always block the low kick because there's 3 or 4 other things on the table for him to throw. So I think it's just a case of Whittaker being good as opposed to Darren being bad more than anything. And I do agree with what you're saying, though. I think Darren could definitely do with kind of adding a few more tools to his arsenal and seeing where that takes him. What's next for Darren is tough, because if he's got a long layoff, by the time he comes back early next year, the whole middleweight division could be completely different. You got Hermansson off a big win. You've got a title fight coming up. You've got Cannonier, who's on streak. So you don't know who's going to be at the top by the time he gets back. Now that's the thing. So I think he'll just sort of take some time, rest, train when he's fit, and see where it goes from there. But he's definitely, I think he proved one thing, that he is at that level of like a top 5 middleweight now. Like, Whittaker's no joke. He's a great fighter, former champion. And until, like you said, 2 of us gave that fight to him, even though the judges all gave it to Whittaker. It was a good fight, a close fight. And I definitely think he's come out of that with a lot of positives and a lot of things he can work on.
100%. And Danny just said, do we think there's any argument for a rematch? I don't see it being an instant rematch, but I can definitely see them fighting again down the line. What do you think, Vad?
I think down the line. I don't think. I
Yeah.
think you need to give Till a second to, well, a couple seconds to heal up his knee, and
Yeah.
I think he needs to just kind of to check out his game a little bit, because he is very good at what he does, and
Yeah.
if he lands, he lands. But it's a very kind of game that people can look at, and they can tailor a game plan towards it. And I think
Yeah.
that kind of forward and backwards, and maybe throw a couple hooks, as good as his boxing is, maybe he needs to mix up with his Muay Thai that he does so well. It's just
Yeah.
maybe needs to rely. I mean, in that Gastelum fight, he used the clinch very well. And granted, it's hard to clinch Whittaker because he's either in or out, but maybe work on your other weapons. Personally, I think he comes back for London. Maybe Gastelum gets another fight in, and I say fight Gastelum again. I mean, Gastelum unfortunately lost his last fight, but he didn't look bad. He reversed that takedown.
He's
he
lost
did
it.
well.
Hasn't he lost 3 in a row now, though, Kelvin?
Yeah.
Right, but I think
yeah.
if he gets another fight and makes a comeback, then you can have a fight between them two again. In terms of Cannonier and these top names, I think they're now pushing towards title fights, and I think if anything, you should have them fight each other like Cannonier and Hermansson. I think get that as a title eliminator or something.
Can I say as well?
So they've only just fought in Copenhagen, didn't they? And that was quite convincing. Sorry, go on, Lewis.
So I know it's not really a sort of high ranking fight, but the fight I think everyone would want to see is Mike Perry and Darren Till.
Oh, shut up!
That'll be a great occasion, wouldn't it? Those two, the build up to it. And I would love to see that fight, especially if Darren's out for a while now. Like that's the perfect fight to welcome him back. Perry can definitely bump up to middleweight for one fight, I reckon.
Oh my God, did you see him yesterday? I saw him on social media. He's training with Yoel Romero. He looks bigger than Yoel Romero.
He's a big guy, Perry.
I don't know what he's been eating. It was huge. Oh yeah.
But that's a fight I'd love to see. I know
he's too young for Perry. Perry prefers beating up old people.
I think that's a fight where if Darren's lost a few and he needs a confidence builder I don't see them, however big Perry's looking, I don't see them in the same weight class. I don't really put them, like Mike Perry is a really fun fighter and I love watching him and I think he's really fun to have in the UFC. But if Till is set on being a title contender, I don't think that's the fight to make. But maybe we'll see that one down the line.
I think so. And people will tune in to watch that. The weigh-ins, the build-up. It's a
press conference.
Yeah, people's on tune. So I think that could happen.
Yeah. Hashtag Raw Dog. So let's move on, because obviously as they kept on banging on about it was such a long card. It was 15 fights. I wanted to say, get yourselves down to Cage Warriors Academy South East. There were 37 fights on the last card and we were there for all of them. But 15 fights, so we're not going to go through all of them, but just wanted to touch on some of them on the main card and then obviously all the Brits. So it was a Pride Never Die co-main. We had Shogun versus Nogueira. Was it, some people were saying it was sad that they were still fighting. They looked fucking old, I thought. But it was a great fight. I still enjoyed it. What did you think, Bad?
It's like that movie, that Robert De Niro and that grudge match movie. What's that? That one. You know what? Me being the youngest person here, I assume. I didn't necessarily grow up with these guys, but I respect 100% now. And I've since then gone to watch their fights and their Pride fights, and honestly, they're legends. And I think fights like that, it's less about the fight itself and it's more about the story. And I think it's just nice to have those kind of, you don't want to see Shogun Hua fighting, I don't know, some savage like my mind's gone from the what's that, the light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't want him to fight some What's that?
His last fight. Remember, he drew with Beardew. That was his last fight.
Yeah, drew with Paul Craig in his last fight.
Oh right, yeah. But you don't want him to fight like some super young, up and coming, undefeated person. You want to see him fight the people that he's fought in his career, because it's better that way to finalize and wrap a bow on it. you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice. I think it's nice that the UFC can have these kind of fights, and it's a special thing for long-term fans, I think.
Yeah. Lewis, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. I agree. Like they did both look old, but at the same time, I think it was everything that I wanted it to be. You know, it was it was a good fight, and yeah, I can't really say. I think Vlad said it best. Really, it was one of those. That's the kind of matchup you want for those at this stage in their career. I don't really know where either of them go from it really.
I
but
think Nogueira retired afterwards.
That's his last fight, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
like I
now
said,
it's Bellator time. Bellator
Yeah.
time. Yeah, look at that money. Bellator, let's go.
Yeah.
Peter, what did you think?
I thought Nogueira won the fight. I disagree with the judges in that one. I thought he won that one. Said two legends going at it for a third time, and said good way for Nogueira to go out. So
Yeah.
I don't know what Shogun's going to do now, but I don't know where he goes from here. But
yeah, I'd like to see them both hang up their gloves, and you know, where they can still like have a talk, and you know, just like they did look old. That's all I'd say. They put in a good fight, but there's only so long you can do it for.
there was pressure on them because it was co-main. You know what I mean? That's a big spot to take because it could have been a horrible fight, but
it could have been a horrible fight. And talking about another fight that could have been a horrible fight, I wasn't really sure what to make of Vadimas Gus. And actually, if it was going to be one-sided, I expected it to go the other way. So I called this one completely wrong. What did you think, Lewis? We don't see many arm bars in the heavyweight division.
It went exactly as I predicted. I had that feeling that Vadimas was going to tangle him up and that was going to happen. I don't know why I just didn't see Gus. I thought it was a bad matchup for Gus because he's been submitted in the past. His ground defense isn't great for the division. So how easy John Jones submitted him last time out when they were on top, when he got on top. And you know, if John Jones can do that to him at light heavyweight, you know, with Vadimas, I just felt like Vadimas' one option is just to grab him whatever means he can and get that submission. And it was a brilliant submission the way he set up that armbar, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was. You can't take anything away from Vadimas. It's just the way that he approaches fights sometimes. I'm not sure how seriously he's taking it and how much he's putting into his camps. And sometimes he doesn't look like he's in the best shape, and it's quite hard to tell with him how it's going to go. But Vad, was that one? I can't remember your predictions. Who did you have?
Oh, I was so wrong. I was so wrong. I based my prediction on the Olenek fight, and you know, he did not look great there. But then I actually looked at, I think it was Chael Sonnen posted a video recently saying that Vadimas weighed in at 240 pounds for this fight, whereas in the Olenek fight he was 260. So it's just like you said, Katie. It depends whether he's taking it seriously or not. It seems whether he wants to get his weight in and be low, or I don't know what his training is like. But yeah, Vadimas when he wants to be or when he can be is the best in the world, or one of them. He was the champion. His ground game is elite, as Lewis said, and I just thought we're gonna see Gustafsson just out jab him, and Vadimas won't be able to close that range. But you know what? He proved me wrong and got a slick armbar. So hey, props.
Yeah.
I did think Gustafsson would have like a round way do that, but I thought the more as Vadimas starts to take shots, he'll get desperate and he'll just go for that takedown at all costs.
Oh God!
Yeah, I just thought whatever happens, when times get desperate, he'll get that he'll grab him, hold him at some point. And I think as well, going up from light heavyweight to heavyweight is a hard jump to make because the guys up there are so big.
Yeah.
And when you're fighting a grappler like that as well, you only gonna have a sniff of him on top of you on the ground, and you saw what happened really. But yeah, Vadimas, when he's on form, he's a great guy. I know he's getting on a bit now, so I don't really know where he goes from here. Really, it's kind of it's a big win because Gustafsson's a big name, but at the same time, I don't really think it pushes him further in the heavyweight division.
No. Well, I saw him post a thank you to the UFC for allowing him to redeem himself. So again, I wasn't sure maybe if he wanted to go out on a win, or he's not someone that I can see having another run for the title, but he'll always be a big name that they can put in anywhere in the world on a fight night to headline a card and just like, you know, have a big name on the card. So if he wants to stick around, I'm sure they'll love to have him. But what's next for Gus? Does he is the love back for him, or does he retire again?
I think he shouldn't have came out of retirement in the first place. I think when you retire, you should just retire. But in MMA, Connor's retired. We all always know.
MMA retirements aren't real.
I know. Shocking. We were talking about predictions there. All 4 of us predicted Gus.
Oh, did we? Right.
Yeah,
okay,
all 4 of us.
less silly.
No, I predicted for Doom.
No, I'm not talking about you, Lewis.
Right, okay.
You'll replace it. You've got Michael's picks.
Michael Blair, Scottish Hit Squad, who's over Corman Beardew, was meant to be on the show, but the UFC had different plans in mind for him just now, so he couldn't make it. But all 4 of us went for Gus. Do you want to know who won the predictions, Katie?
Oh, I was going to come to that at the end, but we can do it now if you want.
What's up to yourself? It was very tight between 3 people. So
the person it wasn't tight between was me, because I'm.
You went with your heart. You went with your heart.
So there was 15 fights, and this is why I call it easy prediction, because you're just predicting the winner. You're not predicting the method in the round. So this is easy prediction. So I was expecting high scores. So in 4th place with Katie with 7 out of 15. Right. Next we had Vad. You had 11 out of 15, which is very good.
That's good.
And we've got a tie for first place. Myself and Michael both got 12 out of 15.
Oh, nice. Very good. Yeah, so don't ever follow my betting picks, people.
But as you say, you went with your heart, we went with our heads.
I didn't go, like, a lot of the time my head agreed with my heart. I just, like, need to have a word with my head, clearly.
All these fight islands, I've put accumulators on every show on all the British fighters. And, of course, none of it's came in.
No.
So I don't usually bet very much, but I was out last night before we went, before I came back to watch the fight, so I had a few beers. And I was so adamant to my friend that Till was going to win by decision. And I'm like, bet 40 quid on it, mate. And he did. And yes. And
the judges got it wrong.
Yeah, it got to the last round. I'm like, I've got this in the bag for him. Like I'm going to have a couple of free beers next week. And he lost, so
now the beers are on you because he's in.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to gloss over. Carla Esparza beat Rodriguez by decision, and Oliveira beat Sabota by decision. I was just going to cover the Brits other than that, unless you guys had anything to say on those 2 fights.
Esparza did what she had to do, didn't she? Yeah. She did what she had to do on the night. Use her takedowns. Can't argue with it, really.
She kept going for the knee bar, didn't she?
Yeah.
And
even the corner was telling her to stop. Yeah.
Fucking stop going for the knee bar.
But Peter, I'll come to you for the Paul Craig fight because, like you said, Carla Esparza's team were going nuts at her for keep going for the knee bar, and I could see afterwards Antoliga's corner were going nuts at him for walking into the position that Beardew wants to get everybody in. Talk us through the fight.
Yeah, it was very quick, and it was like Paul knew he was going to get taken down. So when he did he just kind of, take me down then, I'll come down with you. And that was it. And the rest is history. The guy, as they walked into it and just kept trying to punch him and all that. But before the fight, when Paul came in the cage and when he ran round and you kind of tried to have a wee face off him and all that, try to wind him up and all that, it was quite funny and all that. So Paul was well up for it. Just as Paul Beardew, don't go on top of him because you're just going to walk right into that triangle. So.
And it was funny, he was saying in his post-fight interview afterwards that, like, they'd studied footage and he rushes in and, like, I think that was all part of the game plan to get him to...
Yeah, that's what that guy does. He takes you down, you'll go for ground and pound, or you'll try and submit you. And that's just perfect game plan for Paul as well. So Paul just done what Paul usually does. I think they had a wee run in after the fight as well. I think there was something...
Did they?
Yeah, there was something that they were like alone together and he didn't say nothing, but then when they came into their room and all the corner and that was there, the guy said something to Paul, but Paul couldn't really understand what he was saying, so Paul said I might have pushed him, so it all kicked off afterwards as well. So
because they had a bit of argy-bargy at the face-offs, didn't they, after the weigh-ins?
Yeah, I think he flicked his cap and all that, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's Paul. That's with Paul. He always does that. And he has a face paint on. He's ready for war. You know what I mean? Braveheart kind of style. But such a great guy and all that. And another win for him. So be interesting to see what he gets next. So.
His 10th fight in the UFC as well. There's not many people who can say they've had 10 fights.
Yeah, he's had. That's what I'm saying. Remember, he was 1 away for getting cut, and he got that submission in the very last second.
Yeah.
So he's a fighter. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to see. I think this was the first fight he was actually a favourite, and they didn't give him somebody undefeated. That's what they usually do. So he gave him somebody where he was actually the favourite. So crazy. So but yeah, I'm looking forward to his next one.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to his next one. It was a quick one, Lewis, so I'm not sure how much more there is to say on that, but did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's great to see Paul win. Obviously, we all support the British guys, and I think slowly Paul is becoming a bit of a stalwart for British MMA now, isn't he, in the UFC? He's racking up the fights, racking up the wins, and like you said, once he gets on the floor, you don't want to be there with him. I mean, I do kind of think with Paul when he gets to the upper echelons that he might struggle a little bit, but you know what? At the same time, if he's winning, you got to keep winning. Like Pete said earlier about Nathaniel, you got to keep getting the wins, and he did that last night. And onwards and upwards for the Beju. He's a great fighter. He's a great guy, a great character for Scotland as well. And with the Braveheart paint, and yeah, it's great to see British guys doing well. So really pleased to see him pull that off and do it early as well.
Yeah. He made me feel better as well because he said like the reason it took him so long to set it up and get it on properly was because it's not like the side that he likes to triangle with. And I'm like, it's not just me. There's someone in the UFC saying that.
He's so good with that move, and he's just he's so slick with it. I can't understand why he went there with him, but
no,
there we are. He did, and he paid the price. So.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if it was the ego that kind of said, I can come down here with you when you're not going to catch me in your best move. But
there can't be anything worse than losing to something you knew that you'd prepared for, and then your whole corner having a go at you for doing it. That's got to be a rubbish journey home for sure. But props to Beju, great fight. Really enjoyed it. We had also on the main card, Rhys McKay making maybe the toughest UFC debut matchup. Peter doesn't think this was bad matchmaking.
It got him a 4-fight contract with the UFC, so it's not a bad matchup. And this won't even count towards his next 3 fights. His next fight, that's when the UFC will judge him. They love him because they took it on short notice. And obviously it didn't work out for him. He's got a contract now. Instead of waiting for his next, because all would have taken was him to get a Cage Warriors title fight in one punch, and it's all down the drain. His UFC dream, so it came for him. So good luck to him.
I don't think it was a good matchup though. I don't think fighting someone with that style without a full camp preparing for that style is an easy matchup. I thought it was a really, 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 really tough matchup, but he was 17-1 to get a TKO or KO finish. So I did put my money on him because I've seen enough Rhys McKay fights to know that he always had a chance of winning that fight. It did annoy me as well that they were already putting up back-to-back victories in the shortest turnaround, asterisk, as long as he wins his fight tonight. Like before the fight had even happened. So the UFC are building Chimaev as a massive, massive star, and he's gonna go on to be a big star for them, I'm sure. But tough night at the office for Rhys McKay. Vad, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly what everyone's pretty much said. Chimaev is Khabib with a mouth, and UFC loves that. They love Khabib, and they love someone that can talk. And so when you have that style, it's like, I think McKee was sort of, don't get me wrong, in no disrespect to the guy, he's a great fighter, and I have seen his fights, but I think, at least from the UFC's perspective, it was sort of lamb to the slaughter. They kind of were like, okay, let's get someone that, is a good fighter, but we think that will help promote, because like you said, they really wanted to sell that turnaround, that 10 days. They really liked the sound of that, yeah. And it was interesting. I mean, from McKee's point of view, it's like, it's a tough matchup. And if you do get ground and pounded and held throughout the whole, let's say, 3 rounds, it's like, yes, you're in the UFC now, but is is that still the way you want to get in? And I know it's hard to get into UFC. Of course it is. But it's like, it's a sort of thing where you got to think of it from a business perspective. But all respect to him, no one's going to judge him for it. He's going to have his fights now.
Yeah.
I did find it interesting though how the same throw he went for in the weigh-in, he literally came up close to him, and then that's the first thing they did in the fight. He literally ran up to him, picked him up, brought him to his own corner, and then that was unfortunately the fight. But we'll see how Reese is at lightweight. His true weight, and hopefully he will be able to get one back.
And Vad, I remember before Nathaniel was in the UFC, Brad was just very certain that he wasn't going to let Nathaniel take a short notice fight way into the UFC. He wanted him to have an opponent picked out and prepared in a proper fight camp and stuff, just for Nathaniel's entry into the UFC. Do you think that's important?
In my opinion, at the end of the day, everything's your reputation. I mean, I'm an amateur, so in a way, I can kind of lose and kind of get away with it because obviously you want to win and you want to build yourself up, but at least at amateur, you're learning and it's experience, and you're going to get better because when you turn pro, that's when it counts. It depends what kind of story you're going to tell throughout your career. Every fighter, in my opinion, is telling a story with their career. Khabib's the undefeated, the titan that no one can beat. Other fighters, it's the comeback story. So, people are going to look down on a fighter that gets destroyed in their first fight. That's just the harsh nature of the sport. Although if you can redeem yourself, I guess it's good. I think, though, you should wait. Me personally, if I was a manager, I think you should wait until the right moment, because then you can kind of get a nice performance in your first fight and just jump on forward and forward and forward, rather than taking a short notice fight that you might lose. It's just it's risk and reward. It's risk and reward.
Yeah.
Some do win short notice.
Already...
Some have won a short notice fight and they call up the UFC.
Yeah.
Stevie Ray took one in 2 weeks' notice, and he won his debut.
That's true.
Jack Marshall.
Yeah, but we knew as well, though, who that guy was, because he fought John Phillips the week before. And then we actually saw the Graham Boylan video where he's like, pack your bags, you're going to the UFC. And then he goes, who's my opponent? And he's like, who? I've not heard of him. Yeah, because he used his first name. He didn't want you to know who it was. And he goes, it doesn't matter, I'll fight anyone. Excellent. See you in Abu Dhabi. It just it was tough, but the good news is it ain't going to get any tougher than that for his next fight. But Chimaev's already called out Damian Meyer, and he wants to fight in August. So what do you think of that, Lewis?
He actually wanted to fight it again in the card, didn't he? When they asked him, he goes, I'll fight somebody who comes out.
He said that. Yeah.
Crazy.
I think with regards to that, like Vad said, they found a bit of a gold mine with this guy, because he looks a little bit like he fights a little bit like him, but he's just a great talker. So I think they're going the UFC are now, they'll really kind of back this guy. They'll give him good matchups. They'll give him that little bit of push. I think you saw that, they gave him John Phillips. I felt like they did John Phillips a little bit dirty. John Phillips getting on the plane. A guy who's notoriously not known for his wrestling and grappling game, who was going out there to fight a striker. And then they give him this guy, and then the next fight you've got Reese McKee, who's 6 days notice, a guy who's predominantly known for fighting at lightweight. Yeah. And now he's going to fight this guy. And I just felt like this Chimaev, obviously he's a real big prospect. You can see how good he is. It's obvious he's amazing. But I hear in the commentary like Dan Hardy saying he wants to see him fight Usman, and I'm thinking he's fought two guys who are predominantly strikers, one of which is on 6 days notice. The other didn't know he's preparing for a wrestler, and now you're going to kind of compare him to Usman. I think it's really early days for that, and I think Damian Maia is a bad matchup for him personally. I think that's a fight where you'd really see how good he is, and Meyer usually does quite well against wrestlers. So I know he's lost, but the ones he's lost to have been great guys and champions. So I don't know. I think he needs to build himself up the way any other fighter would at this point. Khabib never skipped any steps, for example. He kind of worked his way through the division as you would expect. And I didn't like it when they was kind of comparing this guy already to Usman and saying he's going to be a double champ. That was what they're saying. He's going to fight for a welterweight belt and then a middleweight belt. I just thought that's a bit too early. considering the fights he's had. And that's not a take away from Reece and John, because they're both tough competitors. But I feel like the odds were definitely stacked in Chimaev's favour, and that's what it is. You know, he still went out and won, but you know, he's keeping it in perspective as well. Like, there's levels to the game. We all know that, and he's still a newcomer in the UFC, so he's a big prospect. But I think more of what is about him is that he's got that look. He's kind of scary looking.
Yeah.
He talks well. He says, you know, I'm going to go smash these guys. It's great. It sells. You know, it's great. I'll be watching his next fight, whoever it's against. So it's a great prospect. But I don't like to get kind of too carried away with things.
I know. For me, it feels like they're a little bit desperate for a star.
Yeah.
So they're literally throwing the kitchen sink, and you couldn't ask for any more than what he's done and what he's achieved with his first 2 fights. He's been amazing, but there's only so much you can say about someone who's had 2 fights and you know done. But hats off to him anyway. Like, a really tough start for Reece. But Reece, I can't wait to see you back in there. Go on.
Can I say as well, for what Peter said? I think I kind of agree with what Peter and Vad said. It's you're kind of taking that beating just to get a contract, because even though there's that risk that, you know, you're going to go in, you're going to get smashed up, you might lose in Cage Wars and you never get a chance. So at least now for Reece, you know, it might have been a bad start, which is not a good thing, but he's got 3 fights now to go and prove himself. I know, obviously, we saw with Craig White a couple of years ago, he got beat by Diego Sanchez and cut, and he was in the same situation. But you know, he's got a chance. He's put himself in there. You know, the UFC is the end goal. That's where you want to sort of make your money and make your name. So he's there now. He's had a good. I think he's got enough experience to be there. And I think probably, even though it wasn't the best start he wanted, I think on balance of things, it's probably a good thing that he stepped up and took his shot.
So one more thing that I wanted to ask about that fight was Dan Hardy said on the broadcast that he reckons Reece will go back down to lightweight.
I think so.
Do we think that he'll go back down to lightweight?
I think so. You see the strength difference. I know that the guy is, you know, he fights at middleweight. He's immensely strong. He trains with Gustafsson, but I just, like, we've seen Reece get kind of overpowered by guys at welterweight before. The name has gone out of my head. I saw him fight Obama for a title. The guy now fights him. He trains with Dan, actually. Terry Brazier.
Yeah.
He kind of got out muscled by Terry Brazier, who's not known for being that strong. So I think lightweight is Reece's weight. I know it's a tough cut, but he's big for the weight.
It is a tough cut.
I think that's where he thrives. Unless, although you don't know if he kind of works on his S&C and bulks, you don't know what can happen. But I'd like to see him drop back on lightweight, personally.
I don't know, because I think it is a tough cut, and I feel like that was only his second fight at welterweight, and he was fighting a guy who fought at middleweight the week before. But that could always be the case. He could always be fighting someone who's coming down from there. So he's either got to bulk up for welter, I guess, or drop back down. But
I will say, though, that I think lightweight will give him a redemption. Give him a little bit of a redemption kind of aspect of it. He'll be like, you know, I don't know how he feels in that weight division. I'm not in his body, but I feel like if he thinks that they are a bit stronger, he'll be able to say to himself, look, that fight didn't go my way. Perhaps the opponent was very good, but at the same time, I got out-muscled. Maybe I can do better. And just for him, because it's hard to recover from a loss like that. I mean, just anybody, you know. I mean, I'm sure Edson Barboza didn't like his fight against Khabib after that. You know, it's hard psychologically, I think, to recover from a loss where you didn't manage to throw a strike. So I think if lightweight is a harder cut, but it allows him to get that confidence back, then I think he should go for it. Because right now it's all about getting that comeback in and proving that he's not the guy that lost to Chimaev.
At welterweight as well, like we say about how strong Chimaev is, but they're all like that. Like, you've got Usman, Colby Covington, Damian Meyer, like big guys. Even like if you see Leon Edwards, he's huge. Do you know what I mean? Darren Till, when he was fighting at welterweight, he's huge. So I don't think he's going to come against many welterweights who are smaller and kind of less physical than that. Really, they're all beasts. So that's why I think he's probably. I'd like to see him at lightweight, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely. I'm just gonna mentally just wipe this one off his record and
Yeah.
start again with the next one. I've been so desperate for him to get into the UFC. So the good news is that he's here now, and with the next one, the world will get to see what he's truly
Yeah.
capable of. So.
Definitely.
Yeah, and he's got the experience now of that kind of fight week for the UFC. I'm sure all of that was like just mind blowing in itself, being there and all the rest of it. So at least he's got that first one out the way if we're looking for positives.
And 6 days notice. It wasn't as if it was 6 days notice going to Belfast or London. It was 6 days notice. We got 2 days in quarantine in London, 2 days in quarantine in Abu Dhabi, a weight cut, trying to kind of get ahead around fighting this guy. I doubt he actually trained at all really in the build up to, other than what he was probably doing in the gym, getting back in the gym a little bit.
I think he was helping Norman Park with his fight that was, I believe, last weekend or the weekend before for KSW. But yeah, being a training partner is not the same as being in camp, obviously. Chris's question there, we're just about to come on to the Jai Herbert Trinaldo fight. So Chris's question is about Herb Dean's performance. Let's start at the beginning of all of this. So Trinaldo weighed in at 160 pounds. Obviously, it was a lightweight fight, so the highest that he should have been was 156 pounds. Tough fight anyway for Jai to get for his first fight in the UFC. I mean, I've said this to Peter. I've found some of the matchmaking on Fight Island a little bit odd. It doesn't seem as kind of I don't know, thought out and put together as it usually does. I don't know if there's new people doing it or whether they're just taking what they can get and just putting people in the same weight divisions together. But Trinaldo's got more fights in the UFC than Jai's got fights in total. And I still thought that Jai was going to do it. Jai was someone I had money on. And oh my God, what a fight. I really thought he was going to win fight of the night as well. He did. Oh, just talk us through the first round, Lewis.
Well, before this started, I think going back to what you initially said about sort of matchmaking, I think a lot of it is just the logistics of getting people to Fight Island at the moment. I think there's limits to who they can match with who, and I think that's just, it is what it is. I actually like this matchup because I do look at Trinaldo as kind of a gatekeeper at this point. He's a great fighter, a veteran, had a lot of fights, but he has kind of traditionally lost to the better fighters, the top sort of 10 guys he's fought. So I thought for a guy like Jai coming in, the form he's been on in the last couple of years, I thought this was a really good matchup for him. I felt like he was going to stick and move out, point him, land that 1-2, really sharp 1-2s that he did, drop Trinaldo a couple of times, and it was going well. He was winning the fight, I thought. It was close, obviously, but I thought Jai was doing enough. I thought if it kept going the way it was, he might have even been able to get a stoppage, but then obviously we see Trinaldo come with that big overhand, and that was all she wrote. So disappointing for Jai, but it's always a chance when you're in there with a veteran like that you're going to get caught. I mean, we say gatekeepers sometimes like it's a bit of an offensive term, but it's not. They're there because they're very good, like you've got to be good to beat them and take that next step. And I think probably Jai was just a little bit, maybe it was a step a little bit too far for him on the night. He perhaps lost a bit of concentration there, but a really good performance, and I think he'll be back, and I think he's going to be better than ever from that loss, actually.
I think a gatekeeper, though, in your very first UFC fight is quite a tall order. I feel like a gatekeeper is maybe your third fight in the UFC when you've won two to kind of test your level. What did you think of the fight, Bad?
Well, I see what you're saying with the gatekeeper thing, but I do think it was out of necessity. At the end of the day, Dana's probably an attitude where you want to fight on Fight Island, cool, but this is who you're fighting, so it's kind of that thing, and we've seen a lot of like even McKee, he's given hard fights. It's no one's been given favors here on Fight Island. It is Fight Island for a reason. So Kumite, you're gonna fight whoever they give you. But I was so impressed with Herbert's performance. I honestly thought he was doing very well. He was just in and out, jabbing, crossing, just using in and out movement, just being very long. And it's just he got caught. You know, it's just one of those things. And like you guys have said, I think he'll be able to bounce back from that. And it's unfortunate, but at the same time, that just shows you how much of a savage Trinaldo is with his knockout power. I mean, that guy is strong. That guy is. If he I've seen him like in fights just holding someone against a cage and just throwing them, like just old man strength, you know. But props to him.
When he had him down in the first as well, Jai did so well to recover from that and get back from that and worked really hard to like, it was 1-1 going into the third round, and like you said, Lewis, I thought he's either going to win on points from here or I could see him sneaking the finish, but obviously, like you said, that overhand right, and it should have been all that she wrote, but Herb Dean wasn't quite ready for that. So it felt like Trinaldo didn't want to carry on punching Jai because he could tell he was out. Herb Dean ran over but hadn't finished the fight and kind of said that he hadn't finished the fight. Peter, talk us through what happened next.
Yeah, no, you could tell the way Jai went down, when his hand was like that. You could tell he was out on the way down, and I don't know what Herb was thinking. He ran over straight away, and I thought, right, he's going to stop it. But he didn't. He just stood there, and I thought, well, what are you doing? Stop the fight. But I don't know what he was going through his mind. I know he's done a post earlier on, but he's not really went into specific details about how he stopped it yet. I think it was more a dig at Dan Hardy, because Dan Hardy was shouting.
So obviously then Dan Hardy was going ape about like the fact that he hadn't finished it, and they had words, and they've since, I think Dan's put out a statement today just kind of saying that he is very passionate about the fighters, and he felt that Herbert had a late stoppage earlier in the evening, and this was a second one, and he was putting people's lives at risk. And now Herb Dean's put one out saying that he'll talk about why that fight wasn't an early stoppage, but just basically saying the only people with a right to shout out in that arena were the fighters' cornerman or the physician, and you know, like, that wasn't Dan's job to be saying anything, which I guess was the row they were getting into, because I think Dan was telling him to do his job, wasn't he?
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because my initial instinct was like, yeah, why is Dan saying anything now? Like, he's in the middle of the fight, he's got the post-fight interview to do. But like you say, he's passionate about it. I know that I'm sure I read somewhere earlier that they're saying about doing an investigation, but I don't think there's anything in it really. You know, he's where he is for a reason. He knows a lot about the sport. He's been in there on both sides of it. If he's giving feedback, I just think you take it. And I don't think I mean, if you agree with it or not, you say fair enough. He's still worth listening to. And I don't know why we're under this impression that like MMA referees, especially at this time, like super sensitive people. You know, they're right in the spotlight. It was a tough call. I think everyone agreed that it was done. It was a walk-off knockout for Trinaldo in most other cases. And you know, but it is what it is at the same time. You know, it was a mistake. I just think Dan's in the right. I think he's in his right to say his opinion as Herb's come out the ring, given his position and his kind of knowledge and background. There's nothing much in it. But I suppose the other argument would be, you know, we all know Dan is really good friends with Mark Goddard, and I mean, would Dan have said the same to Mark Goddard running out of the cage? You know, because Mark is a notorious guy for not taking any shit. So, I mean, would he have said it because Mark would have given him probably the same back? You know, I don't know. I just think it's one of those things. It is what it is. They all kind of on the same page. Dan saying his opinion. Just leave it at that. Really, I wouldn't want to see anyone sort of get into any further trouble from it, because, like you said, Dan is only passionate about fighters at the end of the day, and he's got a lot of experience. So
I think it's really hard, because a couple of weeks ago I was saying that Leon Roberts was getting far too much flack for the late stoppage with Aldo, and it was completely out of order, you know, the things that were being said, especially by Dana, talking about, like, you know, potentially sacking people and all the rest of it. And just to clear something up, Leon Roberts was not sacked. He's chosen to take some time away. So that's not come from Dana or the UFC or anyone. That's Leon that's chosen to do that. But I find it difficult to, say that he copped too much flack for that and then say too many negative things about Herb. The only thing I would say is it seems like Herb is consistently starting to make mistakes, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of people supporting Herb and saying like he's one of the best refs in the world. And I actually think when I look back, I don't know when Peter said I need to be able to back this up if I'm going to say it. I don't know how long ago it was, but I've stopped rating Herb as like the gold standard of referees. I don't think he's up there with Mark anymore, which I know is a really harsh thing to say. It's just my opinion because I don't have any stats or facts on it, but I just feel like go on, Vad.
Sorry, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just think that a lot of people are kind of nostalgic with Herb. I feel like a lot of people kind of just see Herb's face for a long time and just kind of now gotten used to, oh, that's Herb Dean. Oh, he's there. I've seen him ref a lot of fights. I've seen him in so many title fights.
Yeah.
This guy's the best. Keep Pearson. Yeah. But I also think that we should just yeah. I don't know about that for Herb, but I think we should judge refs for their fights individually. I mean, sure, you can keep some sort of track record, but at the end of the day, every fight's different, and judge them on their performances on that night, because at the end of the day, that's where they either go wrong or they don't. And I don't know, in that situation, it just seemed a bit weird because it was like he was just sort of like standing there going, just give him one more. It just seemed like he wanted a clear proof that it was finished. Whereas if you need that kind of indication, then just stop the fight. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
And one more
just
thing
kind
is,
of think as well. Go on, Vad. Go on.
No, I was just going to say lastly to like finish it off is just what a world we live in where there's no crowd, so the commentators can literally argue with the referees. Like this is where we are now in MMA. It's crazy. Before the crowd would have been screaming, so you wouldn't be able to hear anything. But now Dana White can literally walk into the cage and start arguing, and everyone can hear each other, and the mics can pick it up. It's just amazing. Like we can hear everything. It's just great. Yeah.
One thing I was going to say as well, Tom Heflin mentioned Keith Peterson, but I think we're going to give a good shout out to Rich Mitchell as well. I thought it's been brilliant in
and Dan
officiating.
Yeah, Dan's been the best one for me.
Dan's been the best one.
Yeah.
That finish
they're doing brilliant, aren't they?
When Modestus did the elbows, that one just perfect. That was my favourite example of perfect refereeing from the whole of Fight Island. But
it's tough though, isn't it? Like we had the big discussion about this last week about the flack they get. And I'm still on the same page. Like it is very hard. If although it seemed clear to us, perhaps in the moment perhaps till Herb Jai didn't look that hurt. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt sometimes. And I do get what you're saying, Katie, if it's becoming a recurring theme. But I think how many times have we've been on the other side of this where we're saying that fight was stopped too early, that ref was crap. Whatever the ref does, we complain. So it is tough. I think Herb was probably made a bad decision last night because the fight it seemed clear cut to everyone. But I mean, at the same time, I think it's important to realize he's not kind of purposely trying to get fighters hurt. He's doing his best, and I think he probably will get looked at after that. To be fair, I don't know if he's given. I don't know, Peter, has he said an explanation as to why he thought that Jai was okay to carry on?
He's going to. So in the thing that he put out, that was directed at Dan Hardy and that kind of altercation that they had. But
that'll be a
telling
factor of what he says.
Do an educational. So
what he says will be a big factor in that now because
I agree with you, Lewis, because I think if I don't expect referees to come out after each performance and hold their hands up and say I was wrong or I made a mistake, or I don't expect that, but I don't expect them to defend and say why they were right about something that is clearly wrong after the fact. So if he's still going to say that was a good stoppage and he stands by it and that was he's posted a statement. Okay,
I think Tom's getting mixed up with the other statement, the one that was aimed at Dan Hardy. I think he's getting mixed up.
Okay.
That's the one.
Well, yeah.
Keep up with the times, Tom Effingham.
Yeah, he said he's going to do like an educational to say why that was the. So I will be interested to see if he can. Yeah, so that's the one we already talked about.
What about
Yeah,
the 50,000
I'll
pounds
be interested to
usually in
see
the
if we
event? Is
can.
shout.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But okay, we want to talk about a few more. I know he's not from the UK, but you and I have got a real soft spot for Nick Dalby, Lewis. So I wanted to quickly touch on him and his fight.
It was a tough one, wasn't it? I love Dalby. I've been to like his last 8 or 9 fights in a row now with Cage Warriors and the UFC. So I've kind of got a bit of a soft spot for him, like you said. He puts on great fights. He's a great guy outside of the ring as well. And seeing him go down like that was tough. But what can you say?
I had to rewatch that a few times to see where that was coming from.
It just came out of nowhere, didn't it? From the angle.
Lightning quick, yeah. And respect to him, because that was him fighting at welterweight, and he's actually a lightweight. He said he'll drop back down to lightweight for his next one. But tough for Nick, isn't it?
He looked in good shape going in as well, and he didn't look bad starting off. I thought he started quite well.
His movement was lovely.
Yeah, and then that shot, it just came out of nowhere. It was so fast. Like I was like you, I had to rewatch to see what he got hit with. I was like looking like what's dropped him there, but I mean, fair play is a great finish, wasn't it? And the submission was great as well, because Dalby's a really good ground specialist, and he tapped so quick. That squeeze must have been like iron grip or something. So yeah, excited to see, because I think he was on a bit of a losing streak before that, wasn't he? So
that guy's lost 3 split decisions in the UFC, and he's had some absolute ridiculous names at lightweight, like the real toughest names in the division. So
maybe welterweight's a permanent move for him.
He said he's dropping straight back down. He only accepted at welterweight because it was last minute. So respect to him in all areas for that, because he obviously didn't have a full training camp either, but he had a point to prove, and it wasn't the result that we were hoping for, because we love Nick. But
and it takes us back to the Rhys McKee thing as well. You know, it does happen sometimes. You go in there and pull that upset off. So you got to shoot your shot, and sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. So another kind of thing to back up Rhys McKee going for that.
Yeah. So Aspinall Collier. Collier, have you guys seen him at middleweight? This guy was ripped at middleweight. Absolutely ripped. I couldn't believe it when I saw the pictures on Twitter. Did you see them, Bad?
Yeah, I was like, I don't understand. Like, I wouldn't have recognized him unless it was those tattoos. Because I saw the picture of him. I mean, is like, I don't know how. I didn't know the human body can go from there to there. Like, it's actually quite impressive that you can do that. And I just, but you know what?
That's like me over COVID lockdown, that is.
But I mean, hey, respect.
That fight was in 2016 that he had the weigh-in photo. So that's him at the top fighting at middleweight in 2016. Jeez. He last fought in 2017 at light heavyweight. He had 2 fights there in the UFC, won, lost one. And then I honestly think, so he's not fought for 3 years. I think he got the call for Fight Island, and he literally was like, well, I can't turn it down. It might never come again. I don't think he'd been in a gym for who knows how long.
He looks like me after just sitting on my butt for the last 3 months in the house.
That's a bit harsh on yourself. But I don't want to take anything away from Tom Aspinall, because he looked great. He as much as you can look great in a fight that lasted that long. That knee to the midsection was horrible. What do we think of him as a proper heavyweight contender? I know that Till speaks so highly of him and has for years. Bad, do you see him going far in the heavyweight division?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice because now we have one of our own that's in the heavyweight division. I mean, you might have to correct me, but I don't remember for a long time for them being like a proper heavyweight contender from here. So it's nice, and I think he can go far with a performance like that. 50 Gs he got, I think. Is that correct? He got,
yeah, that's right.
So I mean,
Mark
not a bad
Godby was
thing
the
to
last
bring back.
heavyweight contender from the UK, wasn't he, Peter?
What's that?
Mark Godby, the last UK heavyweight
Yeah,
contender in UFC.
I think he was. Yeah.
There you go. There's the trivia. These the knowledgeable ones. But
I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say he was a challenger. He was nowhere near a title shot or nothing like that. But
Last person we had in the heavyweight division then. But I think that heavyweight is quite shallow and as a division, and I hope that he doesn't get pushed on too quickly.
Yeah.
But
Aspinall reminds me a little bit of Modestus in the way that they've got that great physicality for their weights. So when you bring the skill up to suit that size and frame, I really think he is going to go a long way. And I don't think he will get pushed on too far. I think being like where he's at with Till and Heron, I think they'll develop them nice now and give him good opponents. And he's got a lot to learn, but I think he's got a long way to go as well. He's a real prospect. He hits hard.
Yeah.
It's exciting actually to have like Vad said, it's great to have a British heavyweight who's got that sort of potential, really.
Yeah.
Did someone know call him Frank Mear's son?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was gonna say
So-
hilarious. I hadn't noticed it until they said it, and then I couldn't unsee it. But also, again, the hair thing, just he won my heart with that. The fact that he's growing it to help his friend's son, and like with the wigs and that, I just thought that was really, really top notch. And it's nice to see good things happen to good people. Sadly, his teammate couldn't pull out the win. Mike Bundy had a really tough night against Evloev. He broke his jaw in the first round. He got badly beaten up. He is one tough bastard for getting through that fight. Like, he never gave up. I think he's a warrior, but Evloev, props to him. What did you think of the fight, Bad?
Quick question. Does anybody know how many takedowns he actually landed in that fight?
I don't know. They were all in the first round.
Yeah, well,
2,
watching it,
3.
he kept getting Evloev down, but it's like, I don't know what they did to the canvas in between rounds, but Evloev just sprang right back up. He was just like, for me, this is something I want to learn from, because it's like seeing somebody just somehow technically scramble up and always getting back up and always getting back up.
Yeah.
I felt bad for Grundy because he was doing well. He wasn't doing anything wrong. It's just holding that guy down is something else, and it takes it out of you. And just doing that, and then the guy just coming forward, pressure. It gets tiring. So I think I don't want to discredit Mike's performance. He fought well. Just the other guy, I don't know what it is. These Dagestan, I think he was some Dagestan Russian guys. Like, you know, I wasn't born from Dagestan, unfortunately. I'm just your typical Russian, but these guys are built differently. That's all I can say.
Lewis, it was a tough night for Grundy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Evloev looked brilliant, didn't he? I think it's one of those, like you see a fight like Kamaru Usman where, you just see him getting takedown after takedown after takedown, and you think for the guy to be on the receiving end of that, like, it's got to just mentally and physically just break you. Like, as soon as you get back up, you're going back down. As soon as you get back up, you're going back down. Like, it's so hard. But then when you see a fight like that, you see the flip side of it as well, where if the guy just keeps getting back up, it kind of breaks you the other way. So if you can't hold him down, they just keep popping back up the way he did. It's kind of the same thing in reverse. And I thought he looked brilliant. He really, really did. He's great scrambling ability. His striking is crisp and hard. And I don't really think it's really a knock on Grundy, because Grundy he put in a good shift, but he just come up against a better guy on the night. And I think they'll both continue on an upward trend in the division after that fight, to be honest, because they're both quality fighters, both really, really highly skilled. And I think they've both got a big future in that division, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm not just saying it because they're fighters from the UK, but I think a lot of the people that we've talked about that picked up losses, their stock value isn't going to go down off the back of last night. Like Jai and Reese, I honestly just think people will just like cast that one aside like it didn't happen. Clean slate for Reese,
I think.
Yeah, and Jai, I just think that fight, everybody knows that could have gone either way. It was just like a game of inches, that one, and he just came out on the wrong side of it. And even Grundy, like, I just think it was a very tough night in the office, but everywhere, if he goes on to be a superstar that he looks like he could be, then people won't, think that was, anything that Grundy could have done differently. But Peter, what did you think of this last card on Fight Island?
Yeah, I liked all the cards. I'm just, the only thing I was disappointed they went back to the normal size cage. I prefer the smaller cage. There's more finishes, more knockout. Makes every single fight exciting. That was the only thing I didn't like about Fight Island, but it was absolutely brilliant. And it was like UFC London, to the amount of British fighters it was on as well. It was absolutely brilliant. We had a lot of people.
There's more UK fighters than we get on a London card. 18 fighters since 251.
Why is that, do you think? Why do you think there were so many UK fighters in Fight Island?
Because they can't fight in America. It was the only place they could fight because of the virus.
I see.
So the ones that we'd had prior to that in Vegas, there were no UK fighters on, and this was specifically for the European and Brazilian fighters, and then a load of the Brazilian fighters tested positive for COVID, so they ended up getting more Europeans to face each other.
You think as well, we would have had UFC London with quite a lot of British fighters on. We'd have had UFC in Dublin as well. So it was two big cards with fighters plus pullouts, like you said. It means that there was quite a lot, but it's great. It's great for us, isn't it? Like obviously in the UK to see all these and comment on local guys that we know and interview regularly on the biggest stage in the world is brilliant. What I wanted to ask, Peter, is the fights going back now at the Apex, will I be in the smaller ring again?
Yes.
As far as I think so, yeah. And the stats do back it up that there's more finishes as well.
Yeah.
It's like fighting in the pocket. You can't run. You can't go where to run. It's absolutely brilliant.
I saw an interview with DC the other day, and he was saying that he's looking forward to fighting in the smaller cage against Stipe because he's just going to be chaining wrestling, takedown, single leg, double leg together straight away. So I don't know. Because he was saying, I think he was in an interview with Ariel, and Ariel was saying, what if Stipe kind of puts his foot down and say he wants the bigger ring, that will suit him a little bit more. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Is it at Apex? If it's at Apex, it's a smaller cage. So. It's a smaller cage then. They won't change it.
Do you think that suits DC?
I think this could be DC's last fight. I think this could be the end of his career.
I think so.
I can't see him winning.
Yeah.
I think when you won the first one against Stipe, that he shocked the world, didn't he?
He should have won the second one as well. He just abandoned the game plan and did some strange stuff. So I definitely got DC in that one. One more thing that I wanted to shout out before we go is that Corey Mckenna is on the Contender series. I am buzzing. Week 2 for everyone who's going to be watching that. Absolutely delighted for her to get a chance. That I've forgotten that girl's name now, but she's the LFA champion, strawweight champion. Her name's completely gone out of my head. But yeah, just really excited to see Dana to see Corey get to show what she can do in front of Dana. So,
Katie, did you know she was getting called up for it? Did you have a clue?
I'd heard it being spoken about, but no clue that she'd been confirmed for that. So excellent news.
Yes. The thing was as well, we get to see now as well, because one thing I'm sure we've done like a pilot talks about this exact same thing with Corey. It's that step up. Like it was hard to match her on the European scene.
Yeah.
Now she's making that jump to where she's fighting LFA champions. She's going to get into the UFC potentially. Now we get to see kind of really what she's made of, and really excited for her.
Yeah.
That person she's fighting, she's the LFA champion. Vanessa, I have no idea how to pronounce her second name. Vanessa Demopoulos.
If Peter said that it's wrong, it took him 3 years to get Stipe Miocic right. That's Stipe used to say. Stipe.
I've seen that the way it's spelled.
So, on that note, are there any other fights that we're looking forward to? Obviously, there's DC Stipe coming up. Any others that are standing out for you guys?
I think it's Brunson and Shabazian is a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It'll be a good matchup. A tough one to call. Like you said, you've got that guy Shabazian looks like the real deal, but Brunson, another guy you can never write him off. So that's another good fight. But yeah, the main one for me now is Stipe and DC. I'm really looking forward to that. I do think it's DC's last fight, regardless if he wins or loses. I don't see him fighting after this one. And I do think with the smaller cage, he's got more chance of winning as well. So yeah. Good fight. And
Calderwood's on that card, isn't she? She's got a fight, isn't she? On Brunson's card.
Oh yeah. She's got Meyer, Jennifer Meyer.
Yeah, remember she was a title fight, and now she's taking this fight on, which is a bit of a risk. It could go.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
I don't like it myself. I think if you get a title fight, you gotta wait.
Wait.
I think because I think because of the virus and all that, I had a feeling she wouldn't get her title fight. It's just messed everything up, and you know what Dana's like. You need to fight. So.
But you don't think she should have just waited?
I don't. Well, but would they have still give her the fight?
I don't see why. I don't see why not.
Don't get me wrong. She's always up for a fight. She's a fucking warrior.
There was the Masvidal situation. They gave his fight to Burns. I think Dana just wants to get his fights done. I mean, if you're going to be annoying either by a contract or if you're just waiting, then they're just going to be like, you know what, whoever we can get, we're going to get. If it's easier for the UFC.
Just to have a Scottish fighter fighting for a UFC title. I'm dying to see that. You know what I mean?
I think she should have waited out personally. Because it's not as if that division's like so packed that there's people just waiting to jump in this slot. Like she's pretty she's well established now to the point where that is her shot. So I don't know. I think she should have maybe waited it out because one slip, one sort of zig when you should have zagged, and that title shot's gone, and she's got 2 or 3 more fights to get to have it again. So
Ferguson's the perfect example of that. I think Ferguson should have just waited, and then now Gaethje's the next one to fight for the title now, isn't it?
Yeah, I had a feeling I was never going to get to see.
Heartbroken.
Something told me it just wasn't meant to be. Anyway, we've gone on for an hour and a half. Peter, were you going to say something there?
Yeah, but I'm saying the Gaethje Khabib fight's not officially set yet. That might not happen yet either, depending on when Khabib's ready to come back. What's to say Dana wants to Gaethje, you fight Conor in the meantime? That could put a spanner in the works as well.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
So you just don't know.
Apparently Gaethje's turned that down though.
Yeah. But Dana might turn around and go, you never know.
Yeah. So yeah, as I said, we've rambled for an hour and a half. Bad, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
We can't wait to see you back in the cage.
Good luck,
man.
Long
overdue.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you, Lewis.
COVID,
Cheers, guys.
But best
kick him in the fucking dick.
Great advice. Great technical advice.
You just exposed my game plan. You just exposed it. If he's watching,
I've got a question for you, man. I've got a question for you. It's the greatest question in the world.
Oh God!
Katie and Lewis always steal this question.
This one again.
Right.
What is it?
Man, if you could change one rule in MMA, what would you change?
Oh, that is a good question.
Yeah.
Professional MMA or because I'm amateur? That's a good question. I like that question.
In the whole of MMA, it can be pro rules.
You know what? I think we should be able to utilize the cage more. I think, imagine, and hear me out here, I grab the cage with both hands and I hop onto my feet and I drop kick the guy. Or imagine I just climb onto the cage and then jump off it and onto the guy. Like,
that's a great answer, actually. That's a great answer.
We might as well use it. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know, the traditional don't grab the cage is going for the double leg. But just imagine how different the sport would be if I can pro wrestling style climb onto the top turnbuckle and just jump in, flying knee. Hey, Dana, just hear me out. Just hear me out. That's all I'm going to say. Just hear me out, all right?
Who was it last night that grabbed the cage and Mark Goddard just whacked them so hard? It was like a harder shot than the fighter was throwing. I was in pieces.
It was a British fighter, wasn't it? It was a British fighter.
I can't remember. I was having a good giggle at that. But yeah, that's a great answer, Vad, to a
Thank
question that we've heard about 400 times and we've never heard that answer. So that's
There
good.
you go.
Vad, do you want to shout out any sponsors or teammates or anyone before you go?
Well, so thank you for the platform. Yeah, we got GB top team. So we got Claire, Lopez. We have Nick Bagley and Lonnie Kavanagh fighting in the Marbella card in Vida. So if you want to get look out for them, definitely watch their fights, and obviously me, Rob, Earls, and Wesley going to be tearing it up down in August 22nd in Manchester for Celtic Gladiator. Shout out to Mola MMA, get the merch. Come on, use Molotov 20. And aside from that, hey! I'm sorry, I don't have mine on. I opted out for a little bit of a smart
That's for you, Fred.
Shout out to Freddie Zafar. But yeah, and aside from that, thank you for having me. And hey, look out for me too. Hopefully, I'm going to be one of them UK prospects as well.
I know, and shout out to Nathaniel for his incredible performance last night, and to Paul Craig. And yeah, I just want to tell everyone to look out for Vad. Vad, I've been watching since his very first fight when he was 16, made a massive impression on me. I just thought this kid is going places. And yeah, I've seen 3 of his 4 fights live since then and haven't changed my mind. So yeah, everybody tune in. The whole card looks amazing. And yeah, if you haven't seen Vad, see Vad for the first time. Lewis,
see me get kicked in the head.
Thanks for coming on. No.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Peter.
You're welcome.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching.
See you, everyone.
Nice to meet you. Cheers.